you know, Stu isn't the only star at the Blaze. This Pat Gray has a show. If Stu is doing America, Pat Gray is Unleashed. Pat Gray's he's got an oeuvre, he's got a brand, he's got a style, man. You can't get around. It's too big. You want to get past it in the aisle at the grocery store, you can't. This is a big brand, okay? You're gonna have to wait till it's done its shopping and gone to the car and driven away so the whole store can go back to normal. He's got a guitar which has a little lightning bolt on it. He's got a lightning bolt on the thing. He's got a lightning bolt right there. I like that he has the first letter or the last letter of my name, but, you know, I'm not going to sue. I'm above that. And I'm glad that they had somebody come in and spray paint Pat Gray Unleashed on the faux brick wall they put behind his studio point, because he does not, this will shock everyone, he does this out of the same studio space that Stu does his America show. And Pat only occasionally gets allowed on Glenn's show. Doesn't happen very often, and we're about to find out why. But this is, you know, the Blaze, hey, they're not hurting for subscribers. They got 1.62 million subscribers. They're printing fucking money over there, kids. Just in ads. This video alone, 11,000 views, people. 11,000 for Pat Gray Unleashed. And the story is, Biden is desperate to scare voters. He's trying to scare you, man. He's trying to frighten you. He's trying to paint this picture that the world is bad. And you know what? At the Blaze, they would never try to frighten you with the idea that you can't walk on the street because you'll get killed because crime is rampant and that fentanyl will end up in bags of candy at Halloween. They would never do that to you. And they've got to they will never say that anybody who is a victim of violent crime, that you know about it, they would never downplay that and say that they kind of either had it coming or it was just a lover's tiff between two gay men in San Francisco, and if somebody gets hit in the head with a hammer, it's probably a fetish, and they wouldn't just joke about that and let that roll. No, they take it very fucking seriously. And so, Joe Biden, how dare you, sir? How dare you be a great president and make Stu so upset and try to scare voters so close to Halloween?
We had the wonderful speech from our uniter last night.
I enjoyed it.
The uniter president. He's going to bring the country together.
Stu, stay on mic, dummy.
And wow, has he done a good job of that, or what?
Yeah, he's a
Yes, because Stu is literally in the business of being divisive from the Democrats for a fucking living. He's under the impression that Biden hasn't done enough to make him feel comfortable, even though Stu is of retirement age and the Republicans are the ones who want to get rid of Social Security. But I'm sure he's got job security. I'm sure Glenn will never kick him to the curb. I'm sure he will never need his Social Security. It'll be like pissing money.
Pro. He's a pro.
Oh, man.
At finding a common cause to unite us on.
Right?
Yeah, you tell, buddy. Is that that's a Pelosi masked stand up behind him, and then there's a Blaze TV logo behind. Oh, look, and the fake brick wall behind him ends here. Look, I know I have camera cropping issues with my brand new little camera, but this is chintzy. I'm disappointed. Very upset. This is not of quality. Hold on, I've got to set this thing up here. It's gonna bonk me right in the head. I know it, but it's sticking out, and it's not good. Hold on. Put this up here like this, and then we'll take this guy up here, because it hangs down, and then it gets in the way of things. Hey, I fixed it. Look at that. All right. I'm sorry, but I feel a brand fail coming on, because you are using stock Home Depot brick wall shit, put on plywood like a regular set, and you're not even bothering to finish the wall. I'm disappointed. I feel let down. I'm not going to let it get to me, because I'm a professional, and I will keep moving on, and I will focus on the issues. But God damn it upsets me, and I just have to say that.
He said the word democracy 37 times. I'd like
yeah, because it's important.
to point out.
Yeah, by the way, how many times did Trump say disgraceful or like nobody's ever seen before during his last speech, much less all of them. Holy shit.
God!
20 minutes, 30.
Oh, Pat Gray is unleashed. You could see him go,
37 minutes.
what?
37
And
times.
he would wedge it in at awkward moments that's like, all right, what are you doing? We understand what you're
Apparently you don't.
doing here, but it's not, it doesn't even flow, man.
Yeah, not like, it doesn't even flow, man. Like, I can't even, like, sorry, wrong. I'm drinking out of the wrong end. That's my bad.
Yeah, I mean, people don't think it's a big deal. Some, or many, probably.
Yeah. If only Biden could speak as well as Pat Gray unleashed.
They don't, democracy, republic, whatever. It matters. It does, because they're doing this for a reason. This is why they changed the language on us. This is why, they...
Oh, is this motherfucker going to make a case that we're not a democracy? Is that where this shit goes?
They don't call abortion. They call it reproductive rights, because it changes it.
Yes. Fucking chicks, am I right? Jesus. Look, ladies, all right? Listen to Pat. He'll tell you how to discuss what's going on with your body, okay? He's got a class on the weekends. You show up blindfolded. You don't even need to buy a ticket. You just have to present ID at the shredder.
It doesn't... Reproductive rights sounds like... Yeah, well, they deserve that. Yes.
Right, which they do. It sounds like they deserve reproductive rights, except when they try to use them, in which case, fuck that.
They should have reproductive rights. Jeez. Same with democracy. It is their code word for socialism.
You guys know I love being told what I think, because it's always such a surprise to me. I'm sure it's a surprise to you did you guys know that was the code? Did somebody leave their decoder ring at the Blaze headquarters? Son of a bitch. Jesus Christ. No, it isn't. It's code for one person, one vote. Participatory government. That's what it's for, fucko. We are a constitutional republic that operates, wait for it, dum-dum, as a democracy. The functional part, how it works, is a constitutional republic. How we dictate who's in charge of running the constitutional republic is through democratic means. And can I just say for the record that Glenn Beck is going to take time out of his busy schedule, insofar as we know, to go support one Republican candidate. The one Republican candidate who was recently caught on tape saying that he wants to phase out and pull up Social Security by the fucking roots. One. He's not going to help Oz. He's not star fucking his way around or going to wave at Walker and saying, hey, the Blaze is behind you. One guy, Mike Lee, after the video came out. After. Meanwhile, Pat Gray's message to the rest of the Blaze viewers is, we're not a democracy. People's votes don't matter. We don't run, but we're not a democracy. Okay, this is one of the most tired arguments these assholes put forward. We are a constitutional republic, but we choose our leaders democratically. That was always the point, even before women were allowed to vote, even before minorities were allowed to vote. The point was that the men in that particular time, but the people themselves, you didn't have to be a landowner to vote. This is one of the reasons we were separating ourselves from England, is because at that point, only lords had a right to say in kingdom matters in terms of prime ministers and that kind of shit. And we're like, no, everybody should. And we expanded what everybody means over time, because that's how life works. And the architecture for expanding it to everybody was in the original document. It was the point. They just knew they couldn't do it at the time.
Because they're doing this social democracy. It's...
Because we're doing this social democracy. Is that what we're doing? Guys, are we doing the social democracy? Is that a new dance move? I don't know what the dance move for the social democracy would be. Clearly it's like dirty dancing but a government worker helps you thrust your hips. Is that what works? Is that the social democracy? I know what it isn't. It isn't whatever the fuck that Trump squirt, circle jerk glory hole thing he does when he's dancing. That is not the social democracy. The Elaine dance he does.
It's agonizing.
Sure.
Well, I am happy to hear that you're in agony, Pat. I don't wish it on anybody, but if that's where you are and that's where you're happiest and that's the root of your show, which I think it is.
And he is the biggest liar to ever hold the office, which makes this
well, only if you don't mean technically by actually how many lies are told. But then you have to understand, Pat Gray, if you can get him unleashed, will tell you that he thinks Mexico paid for the wall.
Initial clip we have, all the more agonizing. Here's what he had to say.
This institution, this intimidation,
He screwed it up.
this violence.
Oh my God. He misreads a word, then he fixes it. He doesn't say "and" like Trump does. And do we have to go back through all of the Trump fuck ups? Well, we don't even need to do it.
Against Democrats, Republicans, and nonpartisan officials just doing their jobs are the consequence of lies told for power and profit, lies of conspiracy.
I love that Pat said, It's like every word that Biden says makes Pat Gray's dick snag on a nail.
Conspiracy and malice.
Lies
Repeated over and over.
Oh my God.
Generate a cycle of anger, hate, vitriol. And
By the way, this is a big thing on the Blaze too, is that they play a clip and then either talk over it so you don't actually hear what was heard, or they cut it off and they go, I can't even listen to it.
violence.
Like
In
the
this
lies he
moment-
tells over and over. Pause it for just a second. Like the lie he tells about January 6th.
Oh my God. What does he say about January 6th? The lies.
All the time.
All the time he's constantly saying. What lie would that be? Pat Gray Unleashed?
That 5 people were killed that day. No.
No. 5 people died in relation to that day.
Oh, no.
No. First of all, he doesn't consider Ashley Babbitt's death to be one that Biden's allowed to cite. There was also another woman who was trampled to death. And then there were 3 cops that, I believe, or 4 actually, that committed suicide in relation to it.
That is not the case.
No? How many died on that day, Stu?
Let's set Ashley Babbitt aside, who was
Right. What I tell you, he doesn't count Ashley Babbitt. Biden's not allowed to cite the death of Ashley Babbitt, even though this motherfucker is on the side that sent her to her death.
killed that day by Capitol Police.
Right. For assaulting another human being and trying to get through a barricaded door with a gang of other people yelling, "Hang Mike Pence," before the Congress was cleared out of the space. By the way, Stu would like to let everybody know on the air and on Blaze TV that if you come to his home and break in through the window, and you have a backpack with God knows what in it, I mean, you could put, I suppose anything could be in there: a gun, pipe bombs, saws, zip ties, mace, acid, nipple clamps, anything.
What?
That, according to Pat Gray, if you do that, if you crawl through his window, even though he's told you not to come through, he will do nothing to stop you, especially if you are with a group of people trying to come through the same window who are there to kill someone in his house, and that he is responsible for the safety of, I suppose, a family member or a friend who's visiting, and he'll just let you come in. That the castle doctrine does not apply as long as you bust a window and you're not, I mean, I guess if you had a gun visible, he'd question, you have the Second Amendment right to carry. He believes in open carry, so I suppose you could get in through that way too.
rest of them were not killed by anybody.
The rest of them were not killed by anybody.
Sicknick died of natural causes.
Yes, if you're assaulted and your health is not up to the repairs, you will naturally die. Also, you notice he's leaving out the woman who was trampled to death? Hold on. Hold on, yeah. Roseanne Boyland, who, by the way, was also died on January 6th. She was not shot by Capitol Police. She was trampled to death by the mob. They dragged her into a tunnel, tried to resuscitate her, and then ultimately dragged her to police who continued to try and save her life as she was, even though she was with a group of people who were there to take theirs. There she is, Roseanne Boyland. And there's a shot of her, picture, I think. Yeah, I think she has a hockey stick. Yeah. She's there to, I guess, high stick a cop if she wants. She was also there, pictured earlier in the day, carrying a "Don't Tread on Me" flag. That's right. The woman that was trampled to death by Capitol rioters who were there saying, "Hang Mike Pence," and screaming for them to, that I got one when they got a hold of Officer Fanone, dragged him out and tried to beat him to death with one person with a flagpole, a sharpened flagpole that had a Blue Lives Matter flag on it. Oh, the irony. Same group of people, ironically, trampled to death a woman carrying a "Don't Tread on Me" Gadsden flag.
Couple of strokes. And then I believe 2 or 3 other police officers died in the aftermath, committing suicide.
Yes, totally unrelated to the events of that day. And this is an awesome freeze frame. I just think we've won the freeze frame battle of the day. Apparently, this is the moment when Pat Gray realized, oh my God, they spray painted my logo even on my side of the microphone. This is amazing. No one's going to see this on camera. Oh my God, is there a camera over my shoulder? Dear God, can they see what's on my desk? All these thoughts raced through Pat Gray's mind as he momentarily caught sight of his microphone.
Well, how do you attribute that to January 6th?
And how do you leave out Roseanne Boyland? How do you do that, Pat? I guess fuck her, right? Doesn't fit the narrative. Doesn't help your case. Clearly a MAGA supporter. Clearly killed by MAGA supporters. Some of the MAGA supporters tried to save her. Unsuccessfully. Ended up asking the Capitol Police to try and save her after the other rioters had stomped her to death.
You can't. You don't know that, what, January 6th was just so horrifying they couldn't live anymore? Come on. So talk about...
Oh, here's one of the things. The accusation you've heard multiple times from people at the Blaze and other right-wingers is that there were Capitol Police who were there who helped. Now, we know most of the time when they were waving people through into doorways, it was to basically make the rioters who were stupid and had no plan go through another door while they took people out the other way. And because they were overwhelmed, this was the safest way to do it. They don't have enough people to push back against the mob. So one of the ways is you just lure them into another, into a side tunnel. So they go this way when you're trying to sneak people out that way. It's smart, and it's what you do in an emergency in that kind of situation. It worked out very well. It helped immensely. But one of the things they keep bringing up is that some Capitol police officers were in on it with the rioters. Not saying that the people who committed suicide were, but it would speak to something like that. If you were part of an unsuccessful coup, or you were in contact with those people and you knew the hammer was coming down.
Lies. They tell the biggest lies they possibly can.
Well, that's not true. I mean, we can do way better than that.
Over and over and over and over.
Well, if we do it so much, cite one.
The lies about this election denial stuff.
The lies about this election denial stuff. Cool. Hit me.
They're the biggest election denialists on earth. They've been doing this since 2000 at least.
Okay. Nobody has said that there were votes faked or that the machines had been infiltrated or any of that stuff. The election problems previous to 2015 and even in 2016 all had to do with certain secretaries of state denying voting machines, working voting machines in impoverished or black and brown communities, and making sure that white communities or richer communities had plenty of machines. And you had 7-hour lines in parts of Georgia and 20-minute lines in other parts. And it wasn't because the resources weren't laid out by the state. The state had absolutely enough the ability to do this, but Kemp himself, who was Secretary of State during that time, that dude made sure that certain districts didn't have enough machines. That's the problem. Nobody ever in any of these things has said somebody fucking bounced votes off a satellite to Spain and then had them reprinted on paper with panda jizz in it.
Every election they lose, they deny.
No. We have every president except for Donald Trump has participated in the peaceful exchange of power. Everybody has shown up. Even Barack Obama showed up at Trump's election. Everybody. Bush, Kerry, everybody. They're all showing up, whether they won or lost, to show respect.
Every single one.
And also, every single one what? Every single election somebody brings shit up, which is, of course, the denial of proper machines or drop-off boxes in impoverished black and brown areas, and the like. Or you mean just every single Democrat, which is just a flat-out lie. That would categorize. I would say that would be in the categorization of biggest lies you can tell. Absolutes.
And we've shown you that.
No, you have not.
We've proven that.
No, you have not. You have just said it over and over again. That's not proof.
Yeah, and that's one of the things he said last night. Find out who's. He said there's over 300 people on the ballot who are election deniers.
What?
Somebody brought up a good
300?
point. Yeah, somebody brought up a good point that Stacey Abrams is on the ballot.
Is on the ballot.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that whole speech was geared. It was an 11th hour attempt for Joe Biden and the Democratic Party to go January 6th. Remember, election deniers, don't vote for that party.
They're trying desperately.
No, actually, it was in response to Paul Pelosi being attacked with a fucking hammer. That speech would not have happened when it happened, if at all, in its current form, if that hadn't happened. Period. End of fucking story.
To throw whatever they can against the wall to save themselves because they know they're in huge trouble. They know there is a red tsunami coming at them.
Oh, yeah, here it comes. The total red tsunami. It's not showing up anywhere yet, but we know it's just waiting. It's there. And if it doesn't happen, it was stolen.
And they're trying everything they can to avoid it, but they can't. They can't avoid it. Anyway, let's hear the rest of this. We can stand it. The truth.
The very future of our nation depends on it.
You would know the truth if it
My
smacked
fellow
you in the
Americans.
face.
See what I mean? Like he can't even listen to the clip. Pause the shit, you fucker. Again, he has one of Stephanie Miller's soundboards, one of those old-fashioned radio soundboards where you can play clips to his right. I don't know if he ever uses it during the show. I don't watch it. Why would you? But I would like to say for the record, there's nothing stopping him from getting a fucking stream deck like this one and starting and stopping his own fucking clips with one button push. That's what I do. Watch. This is how it works. I push that, it stops. This is how I run my shit. Just me here by myself. It's not a lot of work. Fucking just do it.
In a defining moment.
That's true.
An inflection point.
Okay.
We must, with one overwhelming, unified voice, speak as a country.
Yeah, you're right.
Say there's no place
for your hate.
Intimidation.
For your hate. Listen to you. Hey, man, again, these are the assholes who will tell you there's no such thing as hate speech. And on the other hand, the president isn't allowed to call out any bullshit that he sees. Even in a speech where he's saying, look, I may have differences with people, and we may, go at it politically, but nobody needs to fucking pick up a hammer or burn someplace down or shoot somebody. That's wrong. And the fact that Pat Gray is intellectually, morally, ethically, and psychosexually incapable of recognizing the difference between those two things is, quite frankly, what he was hired for and why he works at the Blaze.
Okay.
Political violence in America.
Sure. Okay, that's fine by me. I love how now they're so radically opposed to violence. All of a sudden, violence is the worst thing in the world.
First of all, it was never all of the sudden.
Violence?
By the way, this is they're going to go with the whole Antifa violence in Portland and George Floyd protests in Minneapolis and in other places and in Ferguson and those kind of things that were because Democrats backed the protests and there was riots or violence, and we don't back the riots or the violence, but we do support the protests. These guys want to make the protests and the riots indistinguishable from one another. If you support the protesters and what they're trying to say, you support the riots. They're trying to make those things indistinguishable from one another. So you cannot voice support for changes to policing and more accountability. You cannot do anything about like I guess the idea of like police or army on the street, National Guard people on the street, like in D.C. Splitting a crowd to push Trump through so he could wag a Bible in front of everyone, that kind of shit. You can't be angry about that and protest against it. And at the same time, if you just want the protest, you must also take the Molotov cocktails as part of it. Meanwhile, these fuckers would like to say that election denial is completely justified. And if they don't support, the violence, any violence that happened on January 6th, but the purpose of it was important and it needs to be heard. Rules for thee and not for me.
This is never the answer. Okay, well, look at this portion of his speech. He began the speech by drawing a direct connection between January 6th and the storming of the Capitol building and last week's attack on Nancy Pelosi's husband, which we're going to delve into later.
By the way, the reason he drew a direct correlation between the two is because the attacker drew a direct correlation between the two. The fucking guy who did it believes the election was stolen, believes that you're going to have violence or we're never going to have a country again. The same shit that Jan 6 people believed.
Who was bludgeoned with a hammer by a deranged nudist in San Francisco.
Oh, by the way, he's reading from somebody else's article take on this. The guy was not a nudist. The woman he was sleeping with at the time is a nudist activist. She's in jail right now on other charges. He was sleeping in her garage. The BLM and the gay rights flags, those are hers on her house. He doesn't live in the house. She won't let him live in the house. You know why? Because he writes this MAGA shit, so she makes him sleep in the garage. She's charitable enough not to make him, homeless, so that if he gets caught because he's Canadian, he'll be sent home. So she lets him sleep in the fucking garage. And then I don't think she can stop him and make him move out because she's in fucking jail.
Go. And he said, "We don't settle our differences in America with a riot, a mob." Wait, really?
Yeah, and again, this is going to be, didn't you support the rioting and the mobs of Antifa and BLM? No. No. Supporting the protests is not supporting the violence. And as a matter of fact, Joe Biden specifically ran on not supporting that part of it. He was very vocal about it, his entire campaign. More so than Trump was, because Trump at one point was like, "We're gonna knock the hell out of this guy. If he beat him up and if he sues you, I'll pay for it." That was Trump's answer to that shit.
Huh. Seems like we do when you're in agreement with the rioters.
Yep.
Yep. Totally. Yep.
Entire summer of 2020?
Yes.
Yeah, I forget who was president then.
Yes, it was 2020. So
Was it really?
wow, it's been over 2 years now.
Right. There haven't been any. You know why? Because Biden's in fucking office. Those riots happened under Trump.
You didn't do a thing about that.
No.
He wasn't president, fucko. Trump was president. What was he supposed to do?
You never even talk about that. No. City after city was set on fire.
And in
Yeah, they're all gone. Portland, by the way, somebody in the chat said they were in Portland earlier. Somebody said they were in Bend. Another person said they were in Seattle. I don't buy it. You guys stop lying to me. They're gone. They don't exist anymore. Those cities, I miss them sorely. The Bridgeton Comedy Festival was great.
In fact, don't forget when the
Don't forget. No way.
leftist crowd surrounded the White House and President Trump had to go into the basement.
Right.
Did the left go, oh my gosh, guys, this is the presidency. This is the people's house. What are you doing?
No,
When they surrounded the White House and he had to go into the basement. Okay, first of all, he didn't go into the bunker. He just went in to have a look around. Bunker Boy did not go to the bunker. And how dare you accuse Donald Trump, alpha male, of hiding in the fucking basement from protesters who were, I think, largely sitting outside.
mocked Trump for being a coward.
Precisely.
Yeah. Yes. Because he was in the fucking White House. Nothing they had was going to reach the fucking White House. Not a person. There's gigantic fucking fences around the entire way, the entire building. I've been there. They got pointy tips on everything. You're not getting over that fucking thing. And if you do get over it, you're not getting very far.
It's despicable. It's,
again, gibberish.
despicable. Oh,
Thank you, Bjorn.
all of a sudden, riots and mobs are terrible.
Bless you.
Wow. Oh,
Yes, riots and mobs are terrible. They've always been bad and terrible. Protests are not. You don't make the distinction. We allow you to make the distinction. I've often, for the record, my conscience is clear. I have made the distinction between the vast majority of people who showed up to listen to Trump speak one last time at the fucking speech near the ellipse, where they listened to it and they fucked off. There were groups of people who went to the Capitol, somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 people who went and attacked the fucking place. Those people are the bad people. I have no problem with, except on a political level, political argumentative level, and I'm glad to have that conversation with them, with the people who were there, listened to the speech, and left. Nothing. I can make that distinction. Why the fuck can't you? I'll tell you why. Because you work at the Blaze, and that's the job.
okay. I can't.
We know you can't. You're not intellectually capable of dealing with the problems that are in front of you, and you never will be. And you'll be happier once you recognize that.
This is hard to hear for a second time.
Okay, part of it is because you're hearing it, but you're not listening. Because you won't allow yourself to listen, and you're afraid, and that's why you talk over it. Whereas when I do the Trump rallies, for example, I pause and continue to listen. And if I mishear something, which I occasionally do, as anybody does, because Trump talks out of his ass a great deal of the time, I back up and listen again. You guys have seen me do it. It's not hard.
It was hard to hear the first time.
Yeah. Again, there's a difference between hearing and listening, dummy.
Then, of course, you've got the dichotomy of Biden going after Donald Trump.
The dichotomy of... I don't know in what context he's using that word. Maybe we'll find out. I doubt it.
Whom he hates with
Well, I mean, I think that shows taste and breeding on his part.
just such a passion.
Well, it's one of the reasons I voted for him. He gets me.
But
Well, and you know, Pat, I understand. Why would you hate a guy who brags about being able to grab your wife, daughter, sister, mother, whomever by the pussy without even asking if he finds her attractive and assuming she'll let him do it? Why? Why would you hate a guy who calls everybody fake news but pleads the fifth 400 fucking times in a civil case? Why would you hate him? Can't imagine.
all the while asking for unity. We got to be together on this.
Okay.
Check this.
Yes, as Republicans and Democrats, the one thing we can share, we don't have to agree on anything else, but we can agree that we can settle this through discourse, even arguing back and forth, even joking at each other's expense and that kind of stuff, but stopping short of physical violence. That's the point. This shouldn't be a bipartisan thing at all. But Pat Gray is, again, morally incapable of grasping this, it would seem. Although, lucky for us, he's physically incapable of doing anything about it.
So,
The issue couldn't be clearer, in my view. We, the people, must decide whether we'll have fair and free elections. And every vote counts. We, the people, must decide whether we're going to sustain a republic where reality is accepted.
actually,
By the way, is he going to say it?
said
The
Republic.
law is
Wow.
Yeah, fucko, he knows. I love how these assholes think they've discovered. Oh, he even said republic, bro. He even said republic. I don't know, yes, we're a constitutional republic that chooses our representative governance through democratic means. We're a democracy. The two are not mutually exclusive, fucko. It's like an airplane is still an airplane, whether it's on autopilot, whether you have a solo pilot or a co-pilot, or you use a throttle stick or an actual, steering column handle. Right? Still a fucking plane. Just how do you control the plane? What means do you exert your will over the vehicle itself? The constitutional republic is the vehicle itself. The democracy is the method by which you drive. I don't know why the fuck these people have such a hard time grasping this.
Obeyed,
Wow.
One time.
and your vote is truly sacred. We, the people, must decide whether the rule of law will prevail, whether we will allow the dark forces to thirst for power
It's just a thrust, a
put ahead of the
thirst.
principles that we've long guided us.
Again, here, some people do genuinely bring up, why do you make fun of how Trump talks and you don't make fun of how Biden talks? Two reasons. One is I'm aware that Biden has had a lifelong stutter. He's dealt with it his whole life. And with age, sometimes that can get more difficult. Doesn't mean your brain doesn't work, just a communication problem. I got no problem with that. The reason I make fun of Trump is because Trump told us he has the best words. The minute you set yourself up as not just better than the average politician, but better than me, better than everyone else, then that means every fuck up you make it's game on. I think I speak pretty well, and I think consistently as a communicator, I do okay. I think my analogies are spot on. They might be a little pop culture-y for some folks. They might be a little on the nose for others, but I do my best. But at no point am I going to say ever, look, I got this talking thing nailed. If you don't understand me, it's your fucking ears that are the problem, buddy. That's how Trump talks. And so once you talk like that, fuck you. Then every fuck up you have is on a scale that you're the Olympic speaker. At this point, every quarter second, every millisecond matters between win and fucking lose. People lose in the Olympics by milliseconds. Well, if you're telling me you got the best words and you went to the best schools and you understand stuff better than anybody, then I'm coming for every fucking thing you say. But if you're a normal person who reads from a teleprompter part of the time as part of their job, and then sometimes you don't, and some speeches are quickly laid together, and some things you've said dozens of times. Sometimes you take phrases from other speeches and you plug them in, and then you replace other words, and so you kind of you even see Trump do this sometimes. You go muscle memory to the next phrase, and that's not actually what's there. But when you fix it just by, you say the wrong word, but then you realize it, and you fix it, and you say the right word. And I would always argue, I would go, excuse me, and it's okay that you're reading it. I would say, it doesn't matter if you stop. But that's on a presidential level, maybe that's a decision or a conversation they've focus grouped, and we don't know yet. But never go, these are the kind of institutions and insinuations and insinuations that, like, no, those two things don't go together. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. He tries to make it like he meant to say the first word, which is even fucking dumber. That's why. Yeah. If you say only I can fix it, then you better be able to fucking fix everything, buddy.
You know, American democracy is under attack because
American democracy is under
defeated
attack.
former president of the United States refuses to accept the results of the 2020 election.
Give me a break.
What do you mean give you a break? He doesn't. He still fucking doesn't. That's not even debatable.
He refuses to accept the will of the people. He refuses to accept the fact that he lost. He has abused his power and put the loyalty to himself before loyalty to the Constitution. He's made a big lie, an article of faith in the MAGA Republican Party, the minority of that party. The great iron.
By the way, he says a minority of that party. The MAGA Republican Party, like the MAGA members of the Republican Party, however they're phrasing that. But he's like a minority of that party. He throws that in, or it's in the speech, which is an important distinction. He's saying not all Republicans. There's a small sliver of these fuckers that bought this shit, and they got to be Trump's fart sniffers, or they're not in. But the rest of the Republicans we should be able to talk to. And those folks need to raise their voice so we don't have any more fucking hammer attacks.
About the 220 election.
220.
Is that it's the most attacked election in our history.
That's the year.
It was back in 220.
Yeah, it was the 220 election.
Oh, wow.
Biden versus Trump.
Like 1,800 years ago.
No.
The election of 220 AD. Yeah, man. Those were the days, weren't they? They're not coming back. 220. He's so bad.
Yeah, don't put numbers on the screen, man.
Go away.
So, I just had to watch that for a second because I was enjoying Pat Gray's misery. Pat, try as hard as you might, and you seem to be very trying. You're never going to be as miserable as Greg Kelly. Sorry. You could try, but that's it.
He can't do any numbers.
Yeah.
As we've noted many, many times.
Have you? How many times have you noted it?
Because, this comes
I'm
out.
just going to bring $1.7 billion off the sidelines in investment.
That's so great.
It's just stunning.
All right, let's see if we can get through this clip. Oh, man.
There's no election in our history that we can be more certain of its results.
Oh.
What?
Yes, there was literally more of a paper trail in the 2020 election than anyone in history because most people voted from home. Everybody had their own ballot and they had a paper version of it. There were almost no machine-only votes in the entire country. The vast majority of the machines had been updated to produce some sort of paper trail, and most people voted by mail. So it was like 96% had a paper ballot attached to the vote for the first time in American history. That's exactly what he's talking about. It's materially true. It's not even a question. And Pat thinks outrage at the very idea is enough to upend that argument.
What? Where do you get off with that? Show me the facts backing that statement.
Progress towards 100% paper ballots continues, but there are challenges ahead. Even with the unprecedented challenge and historic turnout of 2020, election officials across the county administered an election that the federal government's cybersecurity agency called the most secure in American history. Many factors led to this result. From close coordination preparation between federal, state, and local agencies to the expansion of voting options that reduce stress on election systems, but one of the most significant was the rapid transition in recent years to voting on paper ballots, a trend that is set to continue in the 2022 and 2024 elections. Experts widely recognize paper ballots as one of the most important security measures that states can adopt. When selections are recorded on paper, voters can easily verify that their ballot accurately reflects their choices. Paper ballots also facilitate post-election audits where election workers can check the paper records against electronic vote totals to confirm that voting machines are working as intended. For example, by replacing paperless voting machines before the 2020 election, Georgia was able to conduct a hand count of every ballot cast, confirming the presidential election outcome and dispelling conspiracy theories about the state's voting machines. This would not have been possible in Georgia as recently as 2018. Nationwide, we estimate that 93% of all votes cast during the 2020 election had a paper record, whether filled out by hand or printed by a machine for the voter to review before casting their ballot. That is precisely it. Fuck you, you dunce. It is not our responsibility to back up shit you just don't believe because it's your job not to believe it.
You're trying too hard, Joe.
Oh, man. Wow.
If you enjoyed this,
I didn't, and I don't know who you are, and you creep me out. You're a very attractive lady, and you seem very nice, and I'm digging the red dress thing, and I think it's creepy that Glenn made you put that on to shoot their post-video like and subscribe thing, which is... Glenn, it's fucked up. I'm just saying. Maybe your Mormon fellows would agree with it, but I kind of doubt it. Yeah, so for the record, more of a paper trail in the 2020 election than any in history. That's one of the reasons why Barr and everyone was telling Giuliani and the rest of them that there was no there. Fuck, it screwed their entire argument because there was a paper trail. Because every recount they did, the only thing they ever found was that some Republicans had like taken some votes and slipped them under the table so that they wouldn't be counted. And they were just like, 1, 2, and they take a Biden one and put it in the tray like they'd already counted, and then make a paper reference and go, I don't know, my machine says this, but my hand recount says this. So they're like, okay, well, we go with the hand recount. So, and then they look back in and we're going to get it recounted again. Well, no. And then another person checks the box because everybody gets to look at both. And then they find that a bunch of these fuckers tried to table a bunch of votes. Jesus Christ.